Hey, welcome to Real Talk, episode 169. I'm Todd. This is AJ, and we're back.
Hello, folks. It's been a while
It's been a while.
since we have done a podcast for you,
It's been a while.
and I am not sorry. I'm just kidding.
So, what's Real Talk? Opportunity to talk about life, God, the Bible, and everything in between. Just trying to think of something clever. So, we answer questions via a link in which you can ask anonymously questions about God or the Bible that maybe you don't feel comfortable asking someone in person. So somewhere in the description of this video and or podcast, you will see a link, www.theremnant.life/real-talk. The real in that is REAL. Put it in your phone right now, even if you wanted. And
That's right.
Your computer, whatever. Pull it up. Go down to the bottom of the page. You'll say submit a question and follow the prompts, and it'll go into our database instantaneously, immediately, the same word, anonymously. Couldn't find it if we tried.
Truth.
So a little bit of info. You're probably saying, if you're a long-term fan, maybe we've got one fan out there that keeps track of things.
Thank you, one fan.
In which case, you would say, Todd, what a strange time it's been. You say this is episode 169.
Mm-hmm.
We are missing episodes,
Yeah.
right? 2, I believe, is what they would, as far as they would be on there.
1 or 2. I don't remember.
67, 68.
Oh, that's right.
Why is that? We'll get to it a little bit later. However, 168 has been filmed, which we'll talk about that a little later because we have a question that kind of goes into it. But it's there, ready to be unleashed upon the world.
That's right, man. It's ready to be just let out of the cave.
So, you said cave. I thought you'd say cage. So, yeah, it's been a while, man. And I know. A little short of breath right now. Not sure why.
I get it, man. It's allergies.
That's probably it.
Been
Had a lot of
cutting my
caffeine in
breath
a short
out.
amount of time because I hadn't had any today.
That's actually true. I'm on my second one already,
Me
too. And that's usually not the case. I'm usually on the first one by now, so a little
Didn't
ahead of
sleep well,
schedule. I think I slept pretty good.
Nice.
I think, anyway.
Did somebody mess with this? Because it feels so far away that I'm having to lean forward.
I don't know. It's been so long.
Like, it feels like I'm doing this. I'm leaning ahead. Because if I'm back here, it does this.
Possibly. It's been so long. There's been so many things that happen.
Someone sabotaged our studio. And if I had to take one guess, it's Mad Max,
Mad Max, you son of a gun.
previously known as Soulja Boy. And I'll tell you this right now, and you know it as well as I do, also known as the Peanut Butter Czar.
The peanut butter czar.
And this guy, you know who you are. He probably came in here and like just threw our papers around and mess with our mics.
Just slightly moves them.
I'll get you real talk.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. So anyway, catch everyone up, man. How's your life been? It's been years since we've been on this show.
Yeah, man. You know, last couple of years have been interesting, man. In a nutshell, I could say it's been a ride. Yeah, man. I don't know. You kind of said it earlier. It's been just a couple. It's been an odd couple of weeks.
Yes, it has.
You know, like you said, we'll address some things here in a minute, but like that kind of goes into it a little bit. But also, like ever even since then, like things like random things been happening. You know, we had the power outage.
Yep.
That was interesting time. You know,
Yeah. For those, those that aren't from Indiana, because
Yeah.
we do have some.
Oh, that's right.
We had a massive. Turns out it was a derecho, right?
Yes.
And do you remember what a derecho is?
It's like it's a giant straight line windstorm. Essentially, it's like a tornado that doesn't twist.
Yeah, and that hit our town and shut our power off. And since he kind of brought this up, that's why 168 actually wasn't out, because we didn't have the internet to log it, to put it up.
How many days was most of the town without power?
Well, we're still, I don't know, probably maybe 3.
Was it 3 days?
But the thing about it is, well, that's a long story. I'll explain it later. But with you saying that, people, I mean, we're still affected around here. So people's
true.
cell phones aren't working as well.
Yeah, man.
Random blackouts.
Yeah,
It's been odd.
Weird.
So yeah, really weird. So yeah,
storms come, man.
it's inevitable. Can't stop what's coming. So other than that, you know, the power outage, yeah, that was kind of weird. And that week in particular kind of threw me off. I realized that I don't know, man. Life is so strange because sometimes like you feel like you're kind of like gaining momentum, and then stuff like that happens, and it feels like it just shoots you right back down. And like I understand, like I could have allowed it to not, but I did. So it makes me mad because I was like, you know what, man? I feel like I was gaining momentum. I feel like I was being like, hey, you know what? Like I was, like I feel like I was being more productive. I feel like my attitude's better still. Like I think I've been in a better place mentally, which is good. But like as far as like outward actions, I was doing pretty okay with life, and then that happened, and it kind of slowed me down. And this is the first week back from that, so like I'm, excuse me, trying to get back into the swing of things. So yeah, man. Overall, I'd say I'm doing pretty good. I'm trying to think of specific things. I don't know. It's kind of a blur. These last few weeks have been just kind of a blur. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'd say the power outage is just one of the probably the biggest thing. Kind of threw me for a loop. Well, besides the other thing we're gonna talk about here in a minute.
Yeah.
But so other than that, man, like, just been life has kind of flown by past couple weeks, and it feels though I'm in a better place and I've been a lot less anxious, a lot more calm lately. It's still kind of scary because it's like, oh man, you try to think back, like what happened. And it's almost hard sometimes. So it's weird, but yeah, man. Overall, I'd say I'm doing pretty good. Been working out more regularly.
Whoa.
Yeah, man. It's pretty cool. Been one of the things that I don't usually tend to consciously think about is like, like a natural confidence in how it builds and something like that. Because like, I would never thought I'd be like, for example, like we did bench yesterday, and it's like, oh, like I'm going up and weight and bench. It's cool. Like I'm just repping stuff out. I never thought I would, because I just never used to think I would work out anyway. So, it's cool that when you can tangibly see results and things, because a lot of the time you don't, or you just miss them. You don't think about them. So it's just cool because it definitely helps with confidence too. So
yeah, that's definitely true.
But yeah, I'm sure there's probably a lot more I could go into or think about, but yeah, it's just been kind of a blur. So yeah, I'd say
I feel you there.
Yeah, man. So I'd say overall good. I've had some stressful times, some still have moments of anxiety, but overall, I've been more calm. I think I've had a better attitude. I've been trying to flex my courage muscle more lately. Just trying to have like, whether that's like telling people whether something bothered me, or like just like letting people like know my opinion on things, like trying to do that again. Because at one point in my life, I felt like I was doing that on a pretty regular basis, and for a long time I kind of fell out of it entirely. So I'm slowly trying to get back to having that courage muscle flexed again. So I'm trying. Yep, man. I think that's about it for me, man.
Well, it has been. Now that you say that, it has kind of been a blur.
Yeah. It's like a lot has happened, but it hasn't at the same time. It's freaking weird.
Well, we've just had to keep moving. That's the thing. You can't really stop to even think about it.
That's true. But yeah, that's where I'm at. What about you, man? How was life past what? It's been what, 2-3 weeks?
Yeah. Well, still dealing with the ramifications of my smashed nose. We were just talking about this. So, yeah, man. I was telling them, well, clearly my nose is crooked. All right, first of all, a little bit. So I've been trying to get. Before I go on, I'm gonna tease the Christians out there. Like, he cares too much about his physical appearance. We all do. Nobody wants to look in the mirror and see something different than you're used to.
It's true, man.
It affects you, man. And due to some circumstances, some things, this is going to be weird. I think I said this the last episode we were on. I've probably been at the lowest place I've been as far as physical confidence in myself, right? As far as like appearance, those kinds of things that I have a long time. Not that I sit around and think of it, just due to a variety of factors, okay? So that's been very odd for me because that's not something I consciously thought about. I don't think about a lot until as of late. So dealing with that, and it's healed for the most part. So now I'm kind of like I'm dealing with like this is what's left. Like this is what my nose is going to look like now. And you guys brought up a good point. I don't know if it's you guys, someone else, a good friend of mine, Kaylee. Shout out to her. She's listening too. But that it becomes more noticeable when it's your own face because you're used to seeing something in the mirror the same way every time, and now you look and you're like,
it's different.
It's different. And I am a little, which Clint we're talking about too, little OCD, ADD kind of. So my mind hyper focused. I just pick up on things anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just been a weird time with that and trying to figure out what to do with that. I've had a few more migraines, but that could just be the weather. It may not be connected.
Yeah, it's hard telling, man.
Yeah.
That's true. I didn't think about the
So-
weather because the weather's been crazy.
Yep, Indiana is actively trying to kill us all.
Yeah. So kind of the same as you. I think I've been trying to face, actually, weirdly enough, about 3 weeks ago, sort of and I've hinted at this before, my negative thoughts of myself or kind of like, I don't want to call it sadness, but sort of, I guess, because I wasn't feeling sad, but sort of, what is a good word? Not even apathy, because I still cared.
Somber?
Somber is a good word, yeah. Somber nature of my life. And kind of been doing some stuff to like actually address that. And it's been weird because it's worked. We were just talking about this. I've been different.
Yeah.
Now, before I say that, it's awesome. Okay, I'm not as on edge. You guys have said, and I let you speak into it about what the difference is. Maybe you guys on camera or in the podcast can hear it in my voice too, because like I can tell now.
Mm-hmm.
But with that is also kind of like you have to fight some of the, I won't say shame, but like, gosh darn it, I should have dealt with that earlier, man. I should have really like focused on that and not just kept doing what Todd does, which is kind of like, hey, I'm just gonna keep grinding.
Kind of got to like, it's kind of hard to face like that hindsight almost. Of
Yeah, like how, and
dang
you know,
it. Yep.
well, and I didn't realize at the time when I'm in this somber place, right, whatever, and kind of a negative view of life of how it affects the people I love, my friends and my family and stuff. So kind of seeing that now and watching you guys that are close to me, because we all have, you know, if you're listening, you're going to have an impact on the people close to you.
Yeah,
your
man.
family, your friends, your coworkers. You're like, especially if they're close, you're going to have an impact on them. And it's been weird to watch, let's say you, for instance, be more joyful, as I have.
Yeah, man.
You know, which is good and it's awesome, but also because it goes the other way. I always tease him like he can make me feel mopey when he's mopey.
Exactly.
But it makes me feel bad that I did that to you guys for a long time and let it spill onto you when that was never my intention. Because I didn't think I wasn't seeing. It's sort of like if you're in a really dim room, okay, and you're in there for a year. Do you really notice it's dim anymore? You only notice when there's light for the first time. So like as I've been working through things and there's light in the room, now I'm actually going, gosh darn, I've been bumping around into stuff in the house. Like
It's really
I've
good
been really
analogy.
dim, you know, and I've noticed. So it's been the positive is there's definitely positives. It's been better, right?
Definitely, man.
But with that, it's kind of like, you know, I guess my advice to those listening is if you're in a place like that, whether you use words like depression or sadness or whatever, you know, if it's been a couple weeks, month, whatever, you know, you gotta slow down long enough to deal with that. That's a real thing. And you know, the way I was raised in my personality, I'm an athlete, former athlete. Well, I say former, that's what people say. I'm an athlete. I approach things that way, which is you keep grinding.
Yeah.
So to me, I think I was approaching life sort of like sprints when we're running our sprints, which is when it gets hard, you just push harder.
Right, because you just push through it 100%.
Symbolically, to kind of tie, you end up getting hurt. So we started if you've been a long-term listener, last summer we did a Division I college football conditioning program.
That's right.
We were in great shape. So I started it again. We've kind of been easing into it, but last week, like maybe 2 weeks ago, full bore. Well, this ties in with this story. We're running, and I was hurting, and I just kept pushing, and lo and behold, now my hamstring's pulled.
Yeah.
And you actually said, hey, be careful, man. Don't hurt yourself. And I said,
Nah.
So I think I didn't even put it together, so I'm kind of joking and talking about it, but there's sort of a correlation with that of you can't do that all the time, and so anyway, it's been interesting, and I'm still processing. So if it sounds kind of like I'm all over the place, that's because I am a little bit as I'm processing being in a room with more light, for lack of a better word, for the first time in a long time, where it's like, good golly,
It's nice, but it's uncomfortable.
yeah. Well, it's uncomfortable. It's embarrassing to see what I was living in, as far as like the dimness, like we're using analogies here,
Yeah.
you know, and how that affects people. Because I was like, oh, I'm not used to this. The other thing is I brought this up is the injury is really frustrating. Like
Yeah.
I hate, and I don't know if any of you guys are out there. If you're active, a hamstring pull takes a long time.
Oh yeah.
So I'm already knowing, like for instance, today is running day. I'm already thinking through. I'm gonna have you KT tape me up
I got you.
and jog it, right?
Here we go.
Because I don't want to get that behind again. Because I've started to see some results already. Because that program's intense, man.
It is, man. It works.
So that's frustrating because I feel like I've had a ton of injuries. Right, we get the broken nose. Okay, we get a hamstring pull. It's just been a weird bunch of things. So
It adds up, man.
yeah, it all adds up.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I think there's anything crazy going on. Or different. Can anyone think of anything in my life? Or your lives or our lives? That we
Well,
have?
I guess for me, one of the things I just remembered, I don't remember if I said this in the last time we've released Real Talk, but one thing that I've noticed lately that's kind of changed my mindset a little bit is like realizing that a lot of the time if I am viewing myself a certain way, and a lot of the time it's negative, right? Or, I think a lot of people can struggle with that, is when I'm viewing that, I tend to have that naturally take over how I view other people too. It leaks out onto other people. And so I've been trying to make it a focus to find value in myself the best I can and tell myself, encourage myself, and hey, like you have value, because then if I can see that I have value, then I know that I'm going to start seeing people have value too again, and I'm not going to be in that cold place anymore. And, I think it's slowly started to work because I've definitely developed a heart again for people. Like it's coming back,
That's cool.
Yeah.
You did bring up something. Go ahead. Yeah.
And so, like, it reminded me of, like, your Kingdom series with the mirror. Like, it made me think about the mirror more of, like, yeah, man, like, you have to see the ugliness, but you also have to accept that, like, you are valuable.
Christ, man. The beauty of looking in the mirror, using that analogy, is you see what you were, but you also see what you are.
It's beautiful,
Right,
dude.
which is in Christ, right? You
Yes.
are new creation stuff.
And, like, if you're able to see that, man, like, you will start to see, like, if that's me, you're going to naturally start, like, in a good way, leaking that onto other people.
That's
Like,
good.
like you're going to start seeing their
What's in
value.
the cup is going to come out. Right?
Yeah, man.
That's good.
It's really, and like, it's definitely helped me. Like, I still have moments like where I'll like get upset, sure, but that's also part of what I told you guys earlier. Is like that's part of my process too. Like, of like getting better is like when those moments come, like not just holding on to it anymore. Letting people know, and because then after that, I can still have a heart for them after it. It's not just like seething. So that's been one of my newest ones.
It's kind of convicting because now that I think about it, as soon as you said that, I realized, and if people are watching the show, that's probably what they're going to notice is I think I was seething a lot all the time. Using that word for real. Right?
Yeah.
And it kind of leaked out, and like I'm kind of embarrassed about that. And it hit me as soon as you said that word. I was like, that's what I was in that dim room, right? Of that somberness. It's kind of you spoke for me. I was spilling it out, and I was seething all the time.
Yeah,
because
man.
a lot of it was legitimate hurts and frustrations. But instead of dealing with that stuff, which we are supposed to do, and that's the crazy part is I don't mean to take your story,
No,
but
I love
you
it.
said it so good. Is I am pretty. Like I want to deal with things, right? The Bible says that, and I believe that we're supposed to. If Jesus tells us if someone has a problem, we're to go to them. If someone sins against us, go to them. We should do that, right?
Yes.
Not to attack them, but to make it right. Well, what I realize is funny, man. Like I'm trying to think. I think I still wasn't doing it all the time, and that mixed with the how I was feeling, the negativity about myself too, because I was the same. A lot of mine was my own stuff too. Is that it created like a boiling pot that was constantly simmering.
Yeah, dude.
And that's unfortunate. So I think that's a good way to put it, man.
Oh yeah, and like it's hard. Like another thing that's made me realize is like just I'm more so now than I have in a long time being constantly reminded of like how radical and how hard it really is to follow Christ, man. Because like you
Ain't that
really
the truth,
dude. Like like you said, like that's something you're supposed to be doing all the time, and like that's exhausting.
Yes.
That's an exhausting life to live. But what's crazy is in the midst of that, like exhaustion, that's where like peace is attained somehow. But that's why they call it a peace that transcends understanding. Because like
Don't make sense.
nope. So I don't know, man. It's definitely helped me. It's clearly I'm not perfect, and I still have moments where like I'm either upset, maybe I don't say something when I should, or I'm anxious still, or whatever. But like overall, man, I've definitely been in a much healthier mindset. trying to
cool.
find value in myself and let it spill onto others. So
you made me think of this as you're saying something else that's sort of, and that's awesome, changing mindset, and ties with two things. Because I didn't put this together, so I'm trying to think of which to start with. So we have a program that we're both a part of, Fun Turn's a part of, called Lionheart. Okay,
Yeah.
It's a really intense men's group, and really what it's about is the encouragement and the growth that you get in a men's group, but also with real firm accountability. With that, and I think it's okay to say this, so we are in the midst of a kindness challenge. Okay, because each month we are focusing on an aspect of manhood that's reflected in Jesus, and then we have these kind of monthly challenges beyond our own individual to push us to grow in that area. And what we're doing is we have this kindness challenge. And this kindness challenge, we're challenged to look for opportunities. The way I like to put it is kindness is just love in action, right? And look for opportunities to love. There's a variety of people, but like family and friends and coworkers, but strangers too. And that shifted my mindset a lot too. And I didn't think of it. It's kind of come at the same time as this. If you think about it even for yourself.
yeah,
And this is a deep question. Do you think it's possible that in your kindness challenge of being kind to others, it has changed your own heart toward yourself even? Like it's changed your outlook, because when you're looking to love other people and being kind, it's like I always say, right? When you're focused on loving other people, your own problems get smaller. Your
It's
own
really good, man.
your own negative view of yourself. And I just, it came to me as you were saying
I
that.
didn't think about that. No,
Because you got to admit it's weird timing.
that is weird timing, huh?
Because I feel the same way. Because I'm spent so much of my time now looking for those moments. By the way, guys, if you pray and ask God to bring people into your life, even strangers that need something, need help, right? Kindness, the way Jesus showed kindness was tangible things, right? Sometimes it was words, sometimes it was meeting a need, whatever, like food. It could be anything. But God will show you those. And we've
That's
had
good,
miraculous things happening. But
Definitely.
You just made me think, because I think for myself, man, I think there's a part of that, and I've preached it for a long time. You've heard me say it. Hey, if you're outward focused and focused on loving other people, right, then your own problems become smaller. And I think it's convicting again, because it's true. And then you have to almost show kindness to yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You do,
And here's the other thing: people being kind to you, because we know some of the guys are being kind to us because of it. But
Sure.
it does change.
It does help.
It helps us.
yes, 100% it does.
Oh, 100%.
And what's interesting is, I don't know why, but I guess I never
And
thought
even
of it
all
this
the
way.
men that are in it are kind of more positive.
I agree.
Weird.
Even
Oh, go ahead, Clint. Go ahead.
even if
Well, you were in the middle.
I guess I always, gosh, why am I always a pessimist? Even because I have been better. I've been less even of a pessimist lately, because there's been random moments where I've been able to bless people, and even stuff that I don't count as the kindness challenge, but I know is me being kind for the first time in a long time, because just that's what my heart is. It's kind of helped me find out who I am again, because that's always been a struggle of mine, whether I'm trying to either what am I doing in the moment, or because I've been hurt a lot. It is very hard for me to be kind, because people have either taken advantage of me or done things like that in the past. So even it's helped me process more of those hurts, and it is for me it's hard, because I'm processing those hurts on the side, but I'm also processing my own self-hatred / I'm an incredibly awkward human being, so I have to interact with people. But I definitely see the kindness and the love. I made an old lady's day. I never even counted this for kindness challenge, but I gave her a free drink cup. All she wanted was a drink, and I was at working, and I was like, "Yeah, here you go. This is absolutely fine." And she was shocked, literally shocked. I've never had this happen where she was like, "Well," and I just told her, "God bless you, man. You don't need to. Here you go. It's on the house. I take care of this. It's fine." Or I've made it a goal of mine to if I have a benefit from my work that I get to personally have that I can give out to whoever I please, I try to bless cops that come through the drive-through.
Dude, that's something I'll encourage you on. Is you've been doing that kind of stuff for months.
Oh, yeah.
What's cool about it is you didn't do that. That's an area you intentionally chose to become better in, and you did.
Yeah.
And it's become natural, right? Because by your own admission, you used to be, I'm going to use the word selfish, right? Because you didn't know if anyone was going to take care of you, in your own mind, right?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And what's cool is that kind of got challenged, and that's an area, man, that I think is really cool and an awesome example is that you chose to work on that, and now you naturally are that guy. Sometimes we actually have to tell him, dude, you don't have to get us all that stuff, right? Because he just naturally does. So I think that's really cool that you've done that.
Thank
you
you.
become that.
The next thing I'm trying to conquer is trying to accept compliments because I even wrote.
Right as I say a compliment.
Oh yeah, dude, it's weird for me because my childhood, man. So I don't trust.
You know what's
I
funny
don't
though?
trust those compliments.
I'm starting to, the kind of shows made me think about our parents, right? All of us,
Yeah.
right? In the same bracket, they weren't told, they weren't given a lot of compliments, man. Because the generation before that, that's just, you didn't do that, right?
Interesting.
So it's funny sometimes when it's like they might have done it, but they didn't know how.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
It doesn't
that
make
makes
your
sense.
pain less, but I've been thinking about, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I guess I've been thinking about that and my grace towards my own family sometimes, or like even
That's good,
extended
man.
is like, a counselor told me, I did not mean to hijack this, I'm so
no,
sorry,
you're
but you made me
good.
think of this deep thought of like, people can only love you, like people can love you the best they know how,
Yep.
and if and even in love, so I don't know, it's just interesting. And it's cool but you've taken that and you've decided to not become that, which is what's neat.
It is
it's
cool.
It's definitely been harder because I don't know. There's been a lot of like little things. So like I've been pushed a lot in Lionheart. Like one of my things is like I have to now. I try to do this more subtly because I don't want to just be walking around like, hey, that was my challenge. But I've done it. It's helped me a lot. So I don't trust. I don't trust very well. I'm a very well. I'm less paranoid. I can't say I'm a very paranoid individual anymore. I'm still paranoid, but I'm not.
Yeah,
very
you used to be
anymore.
real paranoid.
Used to be real bad.
Oh yeah.
And I was
People
a
probably
few
won't even
bad
realize
days.
this.
Oh yeah, I was a few bad days away from wearing a tin cap.
Yeah.
Not that way anymore. But because I don't trust well and I don't trust easy, I've caught myself more in doing things, and like one of my challenges is actually my main challenge is to learn how to trust people. So it's to ask people questions or tell them things about that I wouldn't normally trust to do, or talk about things that I wouldn't want to talk about. So, and that's helped me a ton because it does put you out on that island, but it also makes you like it naturally disarms your defenses because you have to be willing to talk about those things, and if you're not willing, then you've already got your iron walls up. But once you start talking about those things and you start doing stuff like that, I've noticed that my walls that I put around my heart and around me as just a human being has been able to come down. And
Yeah.
I've been able to.
It's good, man.
They're naturally disarmed, and it is scary, and I don't like it. But I know. But there are times it's more free. I can tell you that much. You're less running from everybody or trying to gauge whether they're actually doing something out of a right motive anymore. You kind of just you trust that it's going to be okay, and I think that's part of it. Like we forget that God said justice is His. And that's a scary thing to even say in that moment. But I know some of my paranoia was like, I'm worried that they're going to gaslight me or they're going to use me or hurt me. And then pretty much the answer I got back was, justice is mine. Let me take care of you. I got you. Don't worry about that. Like, I just do what I said.
Yeah.
Trust people, love, do this thing and let me take care of that. Because trust me, I will.
It's good, man.
Because I think, I don't know. That it was a really big moment. It was one of the moments in the gym when I was at the gym because ironically, I'm on a bit of a different schedule than everybody else on the show. Like when I work, I go to the gym right after work, and that's normally around like 4, 5, sometimes 6 in the morning. And I was just in the gym alone. It was like 2, 3 in the morning. I was probably 3, 4 actually. And I was walking around. I was praying to God, and I almost yelling at him. I'm like, why? And pretty much just had this moment with God where I got to interact with him and just kind of it was right at the beginning of Lionheart where it was just go do this. I want you to do this. And it's the same thing of like a big thing in my life right now is I think Jesus has been telling me a lot, not giving me necessarily an answer, but kind of smiling at me and saying, move and find out. Move and find out.
Yeah, man.
I'll show you.
It's good.
And which fits with the trust thing and things like that, because there's been a lot of random things in my life that I've had to face. Like I'm an anxious human being, and I don't like to face that. So I think it's been very interesting, and I think Lionheart has been really good because I think there are some sides of it where you're like, oh, why are these guys not doing this? But there's also the other side of it that the guys that are doing it, I think we're getting stuff out of it, and I think it's not always the best. It's not always fun, but it's needed, and it will be fun later.
Yeah, and
It's loud.
go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh, no.
My
You were going to say something before you forget.
Oh,
That's good.
Yeah, it was about you mentioned how like when you like when you're more outward focused, like your problems become like less. Well, for some reason, I don't know why, but like it just clicked to me that like what that means is like that doesn't mean that just because your problems become small doesn't mean you don't ever focus on them. It just means
Sure.
like when you're actually doing what doesn't feel as heavy.
Yeah, yes. And what tends to happen with our problems, it's like that's all you see,
Yeah.
right? So when all you see is the troubles in life, then you don't have enough time and space left over in your heart to love other people.
Mm.
So, it says actually in Galatians, it's interesting. So we know the verse that says, carry each other's burdens in this way, fulfill the law of Christ. Well, there's
Yeah.
also a verse after that says each man must carry his own pack as well. So it's interesting. In fact, I'll read it. It's pretty cool because there's this indication of like, listen, you're still going to take care of your stuff,
Yeah.
but God enables us through His grace and the Holy Spirit to be able to handle our load, and help each other carry our load.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, it's a beautiful thing, man.
That's other interesting. Carry one of those burdens in this way you fulfill the law of Christ. Where's it at? For if anyone considers himself to be something when he's nothing, he's deceiving himself. But each person should examine his own work, and then he will have reason for boasting himself alone and not in respect to someone else. And this says, for each person will have to carry his own load as well. So everybody's got a load, right? So the implication is like, listen, you should care about other people's and help carry them because you've got your own, and you're going to need help too.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that's good, man. I think of course, we have to take care of our life,
Absolutely.
but not at the expense of loving people.
That's good, man.
Ironically, I talked to AJ about this.
Well, hold on, I cut him off. What were you going to say with that?
It's kind of you kind of covered it, like because like if I'm inward focused, I get so caught up in everything I have to do that I get overwhelmed and I don't move. I don't do anything. But when I'm more outward focused and I'm more focused on loving people, the times that come about when I'm ready to like when I am focusing on my own stuff that I got to do, I do it better because it's not as heavy and ingrained in my mind, and I'm able to do it better.
Yeah, man.
Which is interesting because I think a lot of the time I would think, well, focusing on others doesn't always make sense because you got to focus on yourself still. But like, that's because I didn't think of it in the mindset of like, yeah, but when you're outward focused, yeah, you're loving others, but that just doesn't mean you can't just never focus on your own life ever again. Like, it just means that it's gonna be like less heavy. I'm like, I never thought about that. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I guess for me it was my mind never thinks it has to be either or.
Extreme mindset, I guess.
Yeah. For me, it's sort of more what that said. Like, I already got my backpack on. I'm going to have to carry that. Yes, I'm going to deal with it. But along the way, I'm going to help him if I can carry his.
Right.
It's funny how our minds all work differently.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little bit like him, but I even talked about him at the beginning of Lionheart. It was one of my trust things. But I ended up talking to him, and it's the idea of, it was like, we are so focused on either taking care of ourselves or other people because you don't want to deal with your own stuff that you don't ever do what it actually says. So
That's good.
Todd's talked about this a ton. It goes back to the same idea. If you're focusing on if you're loving people and you're doing all that, naturally that breeds more love. And it may not always do that, and you're not doing it for that reason. You're doing it because it's what the Bible says. So you're loving on people, you're being kind to them, you're being on those things. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to, at the end of the day, sometimes you're going to have to walk in that room and go, hey, I have stuff going on. You're still loving those people. And then sometimes in those moments, by going to those people and going, hey, I got this stuff going on right now that I am really overwhelmed about, that's also loving them because it's letting them see that thing. We're so focused on that we have to do one or the other, then we're not actually living free. We're still trying to put ourselves in this bridle, like we're trying to yoke ourselves to the world because the world says you have to do one or the other. You either have to be focused all about other people or you're self-centered and you're focused about yourself.
Right.
And that's not the case. Jesus never said that was the case. Jesus said, hey, you got to look at yourself as much as you got to look at other people. Like, you love people. Focus on loving people. Stop focusing on being right. That's not what the law... You're so focused on being right in the law that you're not even focused on what it's really about. That's what he was saying to the Pharisees a lot of time. You forget love. You forget the greater things.
Yep.
And I think at the end of the day, we focus so much on what is the right thing to do that which there is definitely things that we should do.
Right.
We just get so caught up because then we get self-absorbed. And when we get self-absorbed and like some of that stuff, obviously it's not bad.
Well, I
to
think
rethink.
that's what happens when you're doing. That's what I mean. Like, that's a good point. Is it makes you not be self-absorbed. It's hard to be self-absorbed if I'm worried about my brother or sister's need, because, or if I even not even worried if I care about it.
Yeah.
It's a good point. The other thing I was going to say that's with all of this.
Yeah.
So in a message, our last part of this series called Living with Purpose, you can check it out, called Follow, is this idea of trying to live like Jesus for a month. And, when you preach long enough, it's like, I don't know, I guess I just hope people are really trying that. And I guess if you're out there today, we've told the story before about a guy who wrote a book a few years ago. You can Google all the details, I don't know exactly, but he decided to live like Jesus for like 30 days or 60 days or 90, I don't remember. He was not a Christian. And by the end of it, they talked to him, and essentially he said, and he did all, like, even the Jewish laws and stuff, right? The ceremonial laws and stuff, a lot of that stuff. And he said that his life was better, that things were better. And I just think it's interesting that as Christians, we take our grace to mean we don't have to try to live like Jesus when we are the ones who are actually empowered to do so, like we truly can. So I guess kind of challenge you guys, too, to, if you're out there, give yourself an actual date of 30 days to do what Jesus told you to do. And just start with, you can go listen to those series, but prayer every day, right? Reading every day, loving every day, right? And I can't remember my fourth one now.
Go.
Yeah. And preaching. Preaching, to telling people the gospel, because that's what we're called to do. So I don't even know with you guys. I bet you didn't, right? You're not doing it, but I think, well, we are. Lionheart kind of helps that. But to a degree, man, like, I really encourage everyone to really try to do that, because I'm more curious, even if you weren't a believer. Well, that's not true. There's a part of me that's like, what's going to happen if believers who are empowered, who actually have the juice, for lack of a better word, right, do what they're supposed to do? If a guy who didn't says life was better, what would happen to those who did?
Oh, it'd be unbelievable.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Kind of fits in with all this theme of just follow. Just follow him. Do what he said to do. And then you're not stumbling around in a dim room, and you're not focused on your anxieties and all those kinds of, you're not
It's really good, man.
self-absorbed and all that kind of stuff. So, go ahead. But we got to get going, but go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was just saying, I know that, like, the more I've been reading, the more I've been even journaling about feelings that I never wanted to journal about. The more that I've prayed and I've got back to these things, because I realized for a while I was very ashamed about things that I'd done or things that I was doing, and being able to go and, like, I've been coming to because my brain can understand Lord. It's always been able to. But when you start reading and you start doing these things, the one that you can't understand, whether it's Lord or Father or whatever those things, because I think a lot of times we get those confused. When you start doing those things and living like Jesus, you realize how much he not only loves you, but also you can understand both sides better. And I know that, like, recently I've been able to live in more freedom, and, like, it's been more interesting just overall, because I've been able to come to more grips with the Father side of things, even though it's hard for me. And it definitely seeing either blessings or things that I've been given and things that he loves with me. And I think Todd's absolutely right. You live like, if we all started doing that, it would change the world.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think it's beautiful.
That's what we're called to do. That's the sad part. And we get sucked into that church culture, popular church culture, that doesn't demand of us the sacrifice of being a disciple. It doesn't tell us we have to do it. We can say we're following without following.
It's really sad.
And that's how the church, in my opinion, is not as powerful as we see in Acts, because we don't believe, we're not really following. So anyway,
We've forgotten what it is to be dead.
to our own desires, yeah, and to just do what he said to do and follow him and live like him and do what he says to do.
It's good, man.
And so anyway, a lot of that too also comes from when someone comes to accept Christ, we don't disciple them in being a disciple. Like, we don't teach them. We just think that church is enough, that Sunday service, and it's not. Because that's not how it is. So anyway, good stuff. Thanks for sharing, guys, and thank you guys for listening to us. We'd love to hear your thoughts and how you're doing too. You can interact with us anytime using the link even.
Use that link.
Hey, we got a few questions, 4 to be precise, to move on with.
All right.
So here we go. It's been a while since I could answer questions. But I'm going to hold my head up high.
I'm going to hold my head high and ask him and answer him.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it too. So, number one, AJ.
All right.
Question from our dear listeners, our pod squad, the Book Nook,
Oswald.
Friend Zone.
Friend zone.
You
a
don't want to
new
get
one.
stuck there, but once you're there, it's fine. I struggle with trusting people. How do I learn to trust people and use my past hurts as expectations? How do I learn to trust people and use my past hurts as expectations that others are going to do the same? I struggle with trusting people. How do I learn to trust people and use my past hurts? I'm assuming they're essentially saying not live out of past hurts and believe that other people are going to trust them too. You know, that there's going to be that mutual exchange of. So really, it borders around trust and how you don't allow your past hurts to affect that.
Yeah, man. So I kind of
question.
made a little note on this. That sinful people are inevitably going to hurt each other.
Mm-hmm.
We're all sinful. We're all going to hurt each other at some point in time. It's just reality. So how do you combat that? If somebody hurts you, you have to tell them. To me, that's the only way that you can balance that out. Because to me, once you've actually let them know that this hurts you, you're giving them opportunity to not like you're not allowing a wedge to come between you unless they react like they don't like the way say they react bad. Sure, but like a lot of the time, I think where we get in trouble is we don't even give that opportunity for someone to either tell us sorry or to explain themselves, and we are automatically putting that wedge in there before anything even happens. We just take the hurt and we think that we let it go, but we don't, and that's the problem. So, trust is a gift, and it's hard to keep giving, but you have to, especially if you're following Christ, because that's another thing that I don't think people think about a lot, or even me, is like when we stop trusting people and giving them trust, we get very lonely.
Well, that's really good, man. Because you can't have real relationship without trust, without some level of trust.
And even though you're desiring it so bad, you're letting your hurt dictate how you live that, and Christ is telling you to do something different. And so it's like, yeah, you're gonna get lonely.
Yeah, man. I don't have anything to add to that. I think that's a really great point. Is the direct answer is just if you want real relationships and friendships, which sounds like you do. And I struggle with trusting people too. Anyone that knows me well, but it's funny because in your protecting yourself, and I love that you said that, you actually keep yourself in a prison in a way, because you might be, quote, safe behind the bars, but you don't have intimacy and you don't have friendship because you can't have it without some level of trust.
Exactly.
So that's good.
Yep.
It's really good, man.
It's kind of
Thank you for
drive yourself insane.
Yeah.
All right, next question. It says, I miss real talk. Sad face. Is this because those people were crazy on Facebook? Or are you afraid of them?
Okay, well, we didn't address this.
No.
So the bottom line is, a couple weeks ago, no, that was longer than that now, a month ago.
3 weeks, 4 months?
It had
Not 4 months.
probably a month.
Sorry.
4 months ago. So a month ago we did an episode in which we ended up. The irony of all this is we were not going to even talk about this issue, and so the issue came up about I'm not going to go into it, but there's a pastor and it was kind of viral with it sort of happened on stage, and it was taped with a pastor in adultery with someone underage, and it was just it was a pretty big story, okay? And it's close to us within about 25, 30 minutes. So we answered the question, and in the midst of answering it, someone asked for our thoughts. And it was funny because the question actually said, we're not trying to trap you.
It's true.
And maybe they weren't, but boy, it feels like that sure got trapped, right?
Yeah.
So in the midst of answering that question, my main point was just that it's heartbreaking situation all around, and the main point was just that, I guess I would say now, of course, the courage it took for her, the girl, the woman, she's a woman now, involved, 20 years of this and 9 years of a relationship from 16 on, all this stuff, to go up and for her husband and for them to say that in front of the congregation. I mean, that took a lot of courage, and the amount of pain and hurt and that she's dealing with, I'm sure it's affected her whole life. Your ability to trust people, because someone in position like that, and also the weight of carrying that secret for a long time. So
It's heavy.
we never meant to say that we didn't have sympathy for her. Of course we did. I guess if anything, I almost messed up in the fact that I was like, well, obviously that person, like, we all agree that she needs support and encouragement.
Yes.
But in the midst of that too is we were talking about that. Essentially, what do we do with the fact that if this pastor repents, do we have space in our do we have space in our faith in Christianity to allow that this man could repent, truly repent in his heart?
That's good.
And if he were to repent based on what Scripture tells us, that we are to forgive him and celebrate, for we've won our brother.
It's good, man.
And I was very candid that I didn't like this guy personally. I'd had a couple of run-ins with him, weirdly enough, in college. So I certainly wasn't defending him but I defend the gospel. We're defending the gospel in the sense that we have to have, Paul was a murderer.
That's right.
And he repented.
Yes.
And eventually changed. So it was just that, I hope that he has really repented. And that doesn't mean that consequences for his behavior is going to change. There's going to be consequences. It's already happened. A lifetime, I don't know how long it said, 40 years of ministry, right, is now, that's been shattered, right? And he's in his twilight years, so it's just, there's a lot of weight. So, and the family's hurt. So that was our point. Now, why did I tell you all that? Because if you didn't listen to it, you're not going to find that episode up there. We took it down. Was it 167?
That was 167.
So why did we take it down? Well, we ended up getting some people from that town who got on and kind of took what we said and they took it a very different way.
Yeah.
Than it was intended. Maybe we did. Maybe I did miscommunicate. I don't know. But I certainly, it started with this sort of, in my opinion, a little bit of an accusation.
Yeah.
So out of respect that we didn't do it respectfully and we didn't care, we decided to take that episode down and then invite said person onto the show even. It's like, hey, we're sorry. I admit, we don't know how to talk about this then. How could we have said the same thing in a way that would have honored the victim while at the same time leaving room for radical forgiveness that we all hope happens here, or like radical repentance we hope happens in this guy's life.
Yeah.
Because that's the goal. Jesus wants to, if the guy doesn't know Jesus wants to save him.
Yes.
And if he does, he wants healing for him too in the long term.
Absolutely.
And our point was just like we have to have room for both of those.
Absolutely. You do.
So we invited them on, we took it off, and man, we just got a barrage of negativity, and then kind of got accused of trying to hide.
Yep.
Which wasn't our intention at all.
Nope.
We just wanted to be actually respectful of, because honestly, I would never want. Let's say that lady, the victim, got on there and saw that, and then felt hurt by what we said. I would never want that. That was never my intention. So
no.
That's what they're referencing. Their words were crazy on Facebook because they really we started getting spammed.
Yeah.
When you call it that, yeah.
Yeah.
With comments and a lot of that stuff. So, we want to learn to do better. We definitely learned some lessons. And then, so now, that being said, we took that down, and then we haven't had a show up for a month. So that's a good question. You're asking, again, your words, are we afraid of those people? No. What happened was the first time we took that down because we were trying to be respectful.
Yep.
We did kind of shut our social media. I wouldn't say down; it was still up.
Yeah.
The interaction, and that's because it began to get. I'm just going to say there were people being sinful towards this church. I mean, that's a fact, and spamming and that kind of thing. And then accusations of just really weird things.
Yeah, man.
What did you say?
Oh, 100%.
For people that don't know us.
Definitely weird, and even now, we still haven't fully come back to like a full social media presence like we were. We're just slowly unrolling again.
Yeah, and listen. Sorry, go ahead.
That's all I had.
I'm not. Anyone knows my personality. I'm certainly not afraid to have a conversation.
Not at all.
I did that out of we have a church leadership, and they're like, Todd, don't sit. You shouldn't address this that way. And I think it was wise because it was so heated and charged that anything I said probably would have not been heard. Because I have a message still I wrote out.
Oh yeah.
To respond.
Yeah.
So anyway, all that to say, no. What ended up happening was we ended up doing. We had a lot of weird stuff. So I think the next week were we sick or we weren't feeling good?
So
there was 1 week, the week after.
so
Then we filmed 160.
we removed the episode.
Yeah.
The next week we were trying to we were thinking like, okay, like, how can we like re-strategize here? Next week was
we filmed.
We did film. Then the power went out.
That's it. So then we could not upload anything.
Yep.
So that's what happened. And yeah. Now, you didn't ask this, but were my eyes opened to like I'm trying to think of a way to say it. And Clint's was more into the social media world than even you.
Maybe like volatility.
Yeah, volatility. That's a good word. Or just like how things can be taken, and how I have to remember. Me personally, for instance, I have to be, I guess, more careful how I say things, because especially in real talk, I really do talk in the show like we're a bunch of friends at a table, because we don't want it to be scripted, right?
Exactly.
Because then that takes away from what we're trying to do.
Yeah, we're in the moment, raw. We're not.
We didn't prep.
No,
for that stuff.
We hardly prep because we want to give you real talk. Like this is just in the moment, real time. This is what our thoughts are.
Yeah.
To
show you that it's okay for you to do that too as Christians. So
yeah.
But yeah, I need to be more careful with my words, and that's something I'll learn, because I'm not going to bend from the fact that I definitely don't believe. I certainly didn't say or implying to hide anything, but I definitely I need to be more sensitive to hot button issues, and that's something that I've had to learn for a long time, because I'm shoot off the hip kind of guy sometimes. So I definitely learned from that.
Sure.
And I'm going to take that with me moving forward. And boy, I'll tell you what, though, social media in general, and this goes for everyone, and we live in that world, and we knew that this could happen. We've joked about it for years.
For years, yeah.
And then, man, we had that happen before a little bit with a guy, if you remember, the atheist who was on the show for a long time.
Yeah,
and, but that was sort of expected and wasn't as different, because even though he was really respectful for a long time, when he finally did turn, kind of, we knew that was going to come. Well, this came from people who are, I believe the majority of them are Christians, right? Or they say they're Christians.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit different for us.
Oh, certainly.
So, yeah. But that's really what happened, is just we had weird stuff, man. The internet going out, and that affected us for a couple weeks. So 168's been done.
It's true.
And actually, since we're talking about this, we either are going to release sort of a bonus episode, since we left you guys waiting for so long, or
give you double the content.
Yeah, we might do that, or keep in the pocket in case something happens again like that we have something ready.
That's true.
But we may just do a bonus because we love you guys. Let us know. Do you want us to drop two? Would you listen to 2 episodes this week, or like if one was now and one was in a couple days, or you think we should hold on to it in case something like that happens again, as far as technology?
Let us know.
Let us know. All right, moving on. Unless there's anything else you guys have with that.
No, man.
Sorry I rambled. I
so.
feel like I tried to catch people up.
No, it's good. Again, like you said, at the end of the day, I think that, like you said, we learned some lessons, but we also handled it with dignity, and we weren't going to
try to, yeah.
So.
But we missed you too. Thank you for letting us know you missed us. That's really encouraging, especially. You're kind of discouraged in those moments, start to doubt yourself. So this message was like a breath of fresh air of like, hey, we miss you. So thank you. We miss you guys too. We really do love doing this. Mm-hmm. All right. You ready to move on?
Yes.
Number 2 for me. Did you have something fun here? Okay. Why do you think humans in general have a deeper connection to a dog than any other animal?
I have no idea. I maybe because they're more domesticated and like naturally. I don't know. That was my best guess. It's just a natural companion to a human somehow. I'd imagine in a world where somehow if like a shark was naturally more domesticated, it'd be the same thing. Just the dog, the way it was made, it's just naturally more domesticated with humans, and so we have a deeper connection somehow.
Yeah, actually, I think, man, from everything, the closest thing I've ever read, and this is off the top of my head, I feel like I've read something to that effect, that one, they were like one of the first animals that were domesticated, like wolves and stuff, and they've just lived with humans so closely for so long.
And it's just...
And then now it's just become... And they're pack animals, too. And so that means they connect. They bond.
That makes
That's
sense.
just my thoughts.
That makes sense.
But I agree with you, man. Dogs are special.
They are.
I love dogs.
Me too. I love dogs a lot,
Miss
man.
my dog.
Me too. Miss your dog.
Yeah. 12 years, though. I had to get 12 years with
Gosh, it's crazy.
Odie. Yep. It's been, what, 3 years now since he's been gone?
It's around that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Can't believe it's been that long already.
Isn't that nuts, man?
Wow.
One of the hardest things I've ever had to do was put my my best buddy down. Weird change of subject, but I really have a lot of empathy for people that do that. I've never had to do it like that, especially as an adult. Had him for 12 years, and German Shepherd, great dog.
Best dog ever.
He really was, and and to realize, he can't, it's bodily function stuff. It was just hard, man.
Yeah, dude. It's
So anyway.
sad. Man. Yeah, last question, sorry. How do I believe God is good when so much evil and bad is in the world?
I think the Bible is the best answer for why there's so much evil and bad in the world. This is the result of a creation that's walked away from its creator. So you have humanity has tried to create their own moral compass, and we are terrible at it. We don't know up from down. And, the Bible tells us exactly what happened, that we rebelled against God, and because of that, we suffer the consequences of not being connected to Him. It's sort of like a branch that's been snapped off a tree. We might be alive for a while, but we're not healthy, and we're dying slowly, and our fruit's not good. And, so now you have a bunch of people like that with sharp edges, for lack of a better word, and we're rubbing against each other in this world.
Yep.
And, when you look at the Bible, you see what goodness is. And you see the way it's intended, and it's sort of the mirror to show us how bad we are. And, we just talked about it earlier. If the entire world followed Jesus' commands, right, lived like He told us to, we would not have even as much evil as we do. Clearly, we wouldn't have it. We wouldn't have it.
It's true.
But here's the thing: because of that sin nature, that disease that's in us now, even us, right, we still hurt each other because we're infected, and that's not going to be completely eradicated from us, for lack of a better word, until we're with Him again, until we're glorified, as the theological term is. So, a lot of times when I look at that, and it is hard, man. It's hard to look at the world and all the evil and the hurt and the brokenness and not think, goodness gracious, where's God in it? Yep. But here's the thing I'll tell you. Look at all the beautiful moments that are out there. There is so much amazing beauty in this world.
Man, you're right.
And when you see it, those moments, I mean, it's crazy. And where does that come from? Well, of course, right? They know. That doesn't sell.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
That's just my thoughts. So
no, it's good.
Cling to the Bible because it tells us, and He told us this stuff would happen too. Trials and tribulations, and that the world's going to get worse and worse. And He's not waiting to come back and fix it just because He forgot about us or wants to torture us. He's, in His patience, wants people to come to know Him, as many as will. So just my thoughts on it.
It's good, man. I don't think I have anything to add. Like you said, it doesn't sell. The good stuff doesn't sell, and so if you're looking at the world for it, you're not going to find it very often. I don't know. It reminds me of something you said when I was first coming to church that still sticks with me now. Is you talked about like the more you follow Christ, the more that it's like your eyes have these layers on them, and they start to get peeled back more and more to reveal what like the reality. And even though that can be like there can be pain in that sometimes, and like you can see the brokenness of the world, but you can also see the beauty at the same time.
It's really good, man. It's almost like you can see this full spectrum of colors for the first time.
It's good.
For real. You're not living in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
So you see the darkness, because it's the darkness is actually more dark in the light, but you see the light now. Right? I mean, the darkness is more evident, I suppose.
Yeah, so I like that.
Great question.
Yeah, man.
Pretty long, I assume we've gone. How long have we gone here, Fun Turn?
I'm going to guess we're over an hour.
Oh, that's not too bad. So,
there's a lot of reading. There's a lot of reading.
We could let people at least know what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
So, Real News, Real Views, guys. It's one of our segments in which we talk about some big news of the day. And some of this is actually from a couple weeks ago because, again, we were expecting to go on and then the power went out. I think actually this one might have even been the 1 week we just didn't get to. We had a lot of questions to catch up
Oh,
on.
so many.
So keep sending those questions, guys, please.
That's right.
So the biggest news of the day, in case you don't know or you're not paying attention to the news, which I wouldn't blame you to some degree, is headlines, right? This is from the New York Times, but the headline is leaked draft of Supreme Court ruling signals a seismic shift in American politics and law, and specifically in relation to Roe versus Wade, the abortion law, like federal.
Yep.
So I'm going to read this real
73.
Isn't that 70? Nice. The Supreme Court on Tuesday confirmed that a leaked draft ruling, by the way, we'll get to that in a second, has to overturn the landmark Roe versus Wade decision was authentic but not final. Even as the disclosure triggered political upheaval with potentially broad electoral and legal consequences. Democrats, led by President Biden, vowed to make abortion rights a defining issue of the fall midterm elections. So essentially what this would mean is it's not it would leave it to the states. It's not a federally protected right.
Anymore.
And so the states would have the say in abortion law.
Yes.
So, Republicans have accused liberals of orchestrating the leak to intimidate the court. And while Chief Justice John Roberts Jr. ordered an investigation, if the decision holds, it's really quite a radical decision. Mr. Biden told reporters, Senator Chuck Schumer of New York, the Democratic leader, called it, quote, an abomination, end quote. But House Republican leaders issued a joint statement calling it potentially, quote, a decision that protects our most basic and precious right, the right to life. So, yeah, big deal.
Yeah,
And
really
a lot
big
of
deal.
stuff's going on. So essentially what's happening, in case you're like, what do you mean? Well, they have what's called decisions, and they make them, but they don't announce them, right? Because the court's constantly taking these things up and constantly working on
and
them.
it could change even.
Yeah. So somehow someone leaked their writings of what their decision was on this before it was actually announced and before it was finalized.
Yeah.
Never has happened.
Never.
American
That's right.
history's never happened.
And it was a big deal.
And it's very dangerous. I don't know if you guys know there was an assassination attempt on one of the conservative Supreme Court a couple weeks ago. I don't know all the details. So it's been pretty crazy, and this is a big deal. And in case anyone confuses you, let's say what this is again. It's not even saying that making abortion illegal. What it's saying is it's not a federally protected right, which leaves it to the states to decide.
Exactly.
So mostly, is it probably going to stay that way? Now, I guess we don't know all the decision, like the specifics of it, but the more liberal-leaning states are probably going to continue to have it to some capacity.
Yeah.
Though they may define life differently, which will be interesting because that could also affect the state's ability to how far they can go, right? Because a lot of this also goes with at what point you could even do that. So
another thing that I would like to point out, even with this, so this has more ramifications because of what people don't realize is Roe versus Wade. You're right. That's essentially what it'll be doing, and then we'll get to see a lot of things that happen at the state level after that, and that's why there's such an upheaval. And there hasn't even been an official decision leaked yet, or not leaked, made from the Supreme Court. They're saying that it could be this today, it could be this Thursday. There are specific times where the Supreme Court will release their rulings, and they've already been said. So whether it's this case or a bunch of other cases, they will be releasing this eventually. But the big thing that we also have to remember is there's a lot more that will be affected by this than just abortion rights, because it does get interested when they start. It gets interesting when they start defining life, because then it goes to other things. So it affects other law at the state level. So this won't just affect abortion. This will affect laws across the board, because then the essentially what the states will do is they will define life. They will go through that, or else there'll be the Supreme Court, not the Supreme Court, but basically there's a state level Supreme Court that happens. There's a Court of Appeals and things like that, where it will also go there, and they will have to start rectifying that and things like that. So it will be very interesting to see, because this could affect criminals in jail. This could affect other things across the line, current cases that are going on. So it may not affect, it may just affect that, but I have a feeling it's going to do more than just that. But this is very
And
strange.
it may change too, though, like based on what they said. Now, one thing everyone knows, essentially, the current Supreme Court precedent, so Roe v. Wade, guarantees the right to abortion until a fetus is considered viable outside the womb, which is typically around 23 weeks.
Yep.
However, other more conservative states, for instance, ban abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy. So anyway, it sort of guarantees the right to a procedure until 23 weeks.
right.
So without that,
And
the states have a lot more freedom in what they can and cannot allow.
Yeah, and the argument that comes from like the conservative side of people who want to get rid of this is that they're like, well, how is it viable at 23 weeks? Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, they don't, which I can understand, because I'm like, well, yeah, because it's still relying upon the mother, like in the womb. So it's interesting. It's an interesting case from both sides. And when I was reading through it, the Chief Justice Roberts, he was talking about how big of a deal it was for this to become leaked, because he said it's created like a quote betrayal of the confidences of the court.
Oh, absolutely. Well, they're going to be scared.
Yeah.
You don't think that could affect their ability to make decisions now?
Yeah.
They're being bullied.
And if I remember correctly from the article, I think they actually said that he was trying to launch an investigation like immediately.
Yeah, Roberts wanted, which I haven't heard anything come of that yet.
Well, you would think that even with the assassination attempt, this is also Secret Service. So like I would think that they would even go into this and go into that.
Yeah, man, and like I know that they said, I don't remember where I saw it in here, but they mentioned how they could see the leak coming from both sides. Like, it's possible.
Oh, I saw that too.
Like, even the conservative side could have leaked it to put pressure,
to make the conservative ones solidify the decision.
Right. Just interesting, man.
One thing I'll tell you guys is, that's the news, and I've told this story before. So I have a good friend, and I'm not even going to say her name. She's okay with me sharing this because I've talked about it. So she had a miscarriage, and I believe 10 or 11 weeks. Okay, and I saw this baby at 10 or 11 weeks, and I call it that. 10 fingers, 10 toes. Looked like a person, a tiny person to fit in your hand. That's only 10 or 11 weeks.
That's right, man.
So it's heartbreaking, So I think we're in strange times.
No kidding.
And so as Christians out there, you should care about this. This is big news, and you need to be aware of what's going on. So, from what I've heard, weirdly, the fact that we've kind of had to wait to talk about this has led us to closer to by July 4th, we should hear about this if it's happening. So within the next 2 weeks.
Wow.
So it's very interesting
stuff.
Big. Yeah. I also had a story on Mr. Greg Locke.
The guy who continues to come back and back for more.
Oh, wow. Actually, I'm more intrigued by this last one.
The last one's interesting.
Oh, holy moly. All right, so here's our article. I'll let, AJ, why don't you?
Oh, gosh.
It's on page 20.
My picture.
He is.
I'm struggling. There we go. So it says nearly 40% of Gen Z adults believe Jesus wasn't sinless.
This is from the ChristianPost.com.
There's some key numbers here.
40% of Gen Z Christians believe Jesus wasn't sinless. That is crazy.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
So there was a poll that was taken across, I believe, all of America. Let's see here. Yes, it says State of the Bible 2022. It was a polling conducted by the American Bible Society, and it was reported that 38% of people ages 18 to 25 believed, quote, Jesus Christ was human and committed sins like other people. And then they kind of broke that down into generations, where Gen X, my bad, was 37%, millennials 35%, baby boomers 35%.
Close.
Yeah, like everybody had a very significant percentage. Yes. And then it's interesting because then like 77 and older dropped to 26%, but even that's still a high percentage, man.
Yeah. It did say that when you put all the ages together, it's 18% of all ages who are biblically engaged Christians. Well, biblically engaged people believe Jesus was a sinner.
It's almost 20% of people who are reading the Bible, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
The thing about that is they don't realize how that affects the gospel and affects the entire faith.
It's true. Yeah, man. Like, there was another number somewhere that I was like, wow. Those categorized as Bible disengaged made up the highest portion of respondents who said Jesus was a sinner at 43%. So, I mean, essentially, people are just like, yeah, there's no way you can be perfect.
Yeah, it just makes them feel better about themselves, probably.
Oh, 100%, you know, and it's just like, dude, like,
man.
the ones who are not engaged with the Bible, to me, that makes more sense. Like, I get it. Like, I wouldn't really expect them to understand it. But the fact that, 18% of people who are engaged with the Bible think that Jesus was a sinner is just insane to me. I'm like, wow, like what? I don't know, man. It scares me because I don't know if if those are conclusions that are being brought, like that are being made themselves, or if they're being taught that, and that is scary to think about. For me, it scares crap out of me.
Interesting, too. Just a random thought. Yeah, it is scary.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if you saw this. We always talked about shows the cracks. It also said, when it comes to curiosity about Jesus and or the Bible, around 75% of Gen Zers said they were at least a little curious. Mm-hmm. That's cool. While 21% saying they were very curious and 31% saying they were extremely curious to know about Christ. So that's cool. However, that curiosity spiked despite an unprecedented drop in Bible engagement during the COVID-19 pandemic, which this guy says is mainly linked to two groups. He says, I think there's a big group of people who have curiosity. They just don't know where to get started. The other group that's kind of interesting is the most Bible-engaged Christians. For them, they know how to find what they're looking for in the Bible, but where they've been challenged is how to live out a biblical faith through service to others and worship with others, which is the disciple part we talked about.
Discipleship, yep.
And he said he believes that a lot of the... So essentially what that's saying is during the pandemic, people stopped reading the Bible. Mm-hmm. There was a drop, which is interesting. It goes back to like the cracks of like, what do you really believe in the moments when it when it matters?
It's interesting. It's
And
almost
when
like
fear takes over.
It's almost like the people who claim to have been involved in faith, it almost drove them away because they weren't fully following, and then the ones that weren't following, and it's almost like something cracked. It cracked their matrix a little bit, and they're like, "What's happening?"
And made them question like reality a little bit in another way. That's really good, man. That's a good connection there. Mm-hmm. So there's some of the Real News, Real Views, guys. Forgive us for being a little rusty. Haven't done the show in a while. That was the longest we've ever gone without doing the show since we started.
Yeah.
And I genuinely feel rusty.
Me too. It's weird.
So thank you for putting up with us. We love you guys so much. We are so excited to be back with you. And we're looking forward to coming back again. Continue to pray for us, guys. Mm-hmm. We need protection, and we need, we always want to follow God and be in direction. So keep praying for us in the show.
Absolutely, man.
We need it.
Yes.
You got anything else you want to say, man?
Hey, do you love Real Talk? Do you love podcasts? Do you love us? Well, listen, I'm willing to do my hair and my beard any way you want me to do.
I forgot about this.
Not actually, but we have three preset options for you guys to select from here in the next couple days, maybe a week or so. You guys are going to be able to do a bidding war. I don't know how long it's going to be for. Maybe it's a week, 2 weeks, who knows? But details will be put out later. But I wanted to let you guys know that you guys get to vote, essentially, what I'm going to be doing for the next 3 months of my life. So stay tuned. I know we put a video out on it, but I wanted to remind you guys to keep your eyes open and keep your ears open because you guys are kind of about to dictate my future for a little while.
It's going to be an interesting time.
Yep. And it's all going towards us getting new microphones, maybe even a new camera. So it's all going back to the show.
The show for you guys.
That's right.
And new hosts. I'm just kidding.
That's right.
All right, fun turn. What do you got? Maybe we'll hire Ryan Reynolds.
Thank you, Ryan Reynolds.
No. Anyways, if you're watching on podcast or even if you're on YouTube or anything, hit that subscribe, click that like button. But also, if you're on podcast, leave us a review. Give us that 5-star review. We really need it. It helps us on the business end of things. We're coming off of basically a hiatus. So share it with people. Share the podcast, share YouTube, share wherever you listen to, and just put it out there. Give us those reviews. We need them. Helps us on the business end. Helps us just get seen by more people, and we want to get seen by everybody. So we love you. It's been awesome. Also, if you have a bad review, you know what? Do like your mama said. If you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say it. Keep it to yourself. We enjoyed your company. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
You heard him. Goodbye. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, love you guys. Appreciate you so much. Truly, we really do. If one thing I've learned over this time off is how much I treasure these moments with you guys.
It's true, man.
These moments with you guys. And we don't take it for granted, really, especially now, that we get to sit down every week and have real talk with you. So, hey, find people out there in your life that you can have real talk with, discuss the real things of life, your faith, God, Bible, and what's going on in the world. Don't run from it. Find people that you can help carry your burdens and you can have those talks with as well. And hey, remember this for real. God loves you so much. It doesn't matter where you're at, whether you know him, whether you don't. God loves you. And he's even right now, in this very moment, pursuing you and pursuing a relationship with you because he loves you that much. The Bible says God doesn't want anyone to perish, but everyone to have eternal life through him and to have the assurance and confidence and peace that comes with having a relationship with our Creator. And it's all real. That's our slogan. You need to understand, hey, I'm telling you, I don't get a cookie for saying this or a cookie if you believe me. This is real. God loves you. So, hey, keep praying for our country. Keep praying for this show.
That's right, man.
We love you guys. Hope you have a great day, and God bless you.